Hi, everybody. My name is Patience Riley, and I am a licensed mental health therapist as well as certified professional coach. And welcome to BIMS Care. BIMS Care is the place where we are coming to chat about all things mental health. So, throughout the week, we are covering different topics, we are learning tools, we are learning techniques so that we can move out of a space of just merely surviving to one of thriving without having to compromise our mental health. A lot of times when we are thinking about our health and our wellness, our mental state and space end up being the last place that is addressed, the last thing that is brought up, and the last thing that is touched. So during our time together, I want you to have some very, very simple tools and techniques that you can use after our time together and use it going forward to help your mental wellness. Remember, our mental health does not have to be complicated as long as we are being very, very intentional and we are being consistent with putting these practices into place. So, like I said, each day we're going to be covering a different topic as it relates to our mental health. So, what are we talking about today? Stress. Stress is an emotional or physical response or some kind of tension that we may experience to an event, to a person, to something that has happened or is going on in our lives. So, I want to pose a question to you. Has there ever been a time in your life where you have felt stress? Not a trick question, just a very, very simple question. All right. I'm pretty sure that most of us are saying yes. There has been a time where I felt stressed, or I think I feel stressed all the time. I'm feeling stressed right now. Or, my gosh, do you know what happened over the past few months and I just came out of that space? I'm pretty sure, like I said, most of us can say that there has been a time in our lives where we have felt stress. So we're not alone in that. Other people are experiencing stress probably just as much as we are. So, with that, I want to talk about different perceptions of how we view stress. So, and do not chew me out with this. But another question for you. Do you think that stress is innately good or do you think that stress is innately bad? Just one of the two. I don't really want us to kind of go in with the in between of maybe I don't know, it could be. Just do you think that stress is good or do you think that stress is bad? And the reason why I'm asking you that question specifically is because there was a research study that was done where that was the question that they asked the participants. Do you think that stress is good or do you think that stress is bad? And because this was a longitudinal study, it crossed over many, 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 many years. And what the researchers did is they actually checked the death records to see who lived and who died. And what they found, I honestly thought was pretty astonishing. Um, what they found was that the people who said, I think stress is bad, died a lot earlier, a lot sooner, lived way shorter lives than the people who said, I think innately stress is good. So, what that does is that brings people like myself who focus kind of like on the brain and our thinking, how we think about things. How does that play a role into how we feel and then how we behave and how we act? So, how we think about stress in itself can have a huge role in how we kind of maneuver our stress, how we move with it, how we deal with it, how we look at it, and actually take different action steps to work and deal with our stress. Okay. So that's why I wanted to ask you that question. Short moments of stress can actually be really, really beneficial for us. If we're feeling a little stressed and hey, we're getting a little bit behind on something, actually feeling that stress might help us meet that deadline at work. It might help us actually get out of that procrastination mode. So, have you ever procrastinated on something and maybe waited to the last minute, but you cranked it out and it ended up being done really, really well? Well, it could have been because your adrenaline was pumping, your heart was going, your chest was beating really fast, and you were like, I got to get this done. It's go mode. You were feeling some of that stress. It may have allowed you to start a new skill. Those are some of the areas where it's like, you know what? Stress isn't too bad. It isn't the worst thing in the world. Doing some public speaking, getting in front of other people can cause some kind of stress responses. It can make your heart beat really fast. It can have you breathing really, really heavily. But what it's doing, it's saying, hey, body, it's game time. We're about to do this. It's actually getting more oxygen to your brain so that you can think more clearly, so that you can actually say and express the information that you have in your head. So I could be having some stress responses right now at this moment because I am speaking publicly to other people, but it can actually make me feel a little bit more courage to get it done. So not all stress is bad stress. Now, the stress that is something that we think about that is a little bit more negative is that prolonged stress. So, that stress that lasts over a long period of time. So, this could be months. So, instead of it being something that's like days or weeks, this is something that goes on for months and months and months. This type of stress, unfortunately, can bring us to burnout. I'm sure a lot of us have heard about that as well. Burnout, where we are completely overwhelmed, we're completely overtaken by the different things and people and events in our lives that we are just done. We're over it. We cannot operate, we cannot function how we typically do because we are so burned out with the amount of stress that we have going on in our lives. Now, 2020, that was kind of the time that shaped our world. It rocked us. And some of us really didn't know how to deal with the added pressures, the changes, the things that were happening. And some of us got on the road to burnout. Maybe we reached burnout. Maybe you feel like, patience, I think I'm headed there. Or you know what? I actually was on my way there and I started taking a couple of steps. And so I think I'm tiptoeing backwards and I'm doing a little bit better. I'm not headed to burnout as quickly as I thought before. And I don't want you to be. So there were some studies that were done last year and it said that the burnout rate actually increased by 33%. And women were 2 times more likely to experience burnout than men. So, burnout is very, very, very real. So, this is the stress that oftentimes we think about and we cringe. We think about and we're like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to be a part of this stress. So, what do we do about it? Stress is something that is inevitable. Surprise, surprise, sorry. I can't tell you like some magic formula to just get rid of stress altogether. If I could, I would. And I would tell myself first, believe me. But since I can't, let's talk about some different ways that we can actually deal with it, that we can try to incorporate different steps into our lives so that stress isn't so high and that the stress does not last for a prolonged period of time. We don't want to be a part of that 33%. And if we are, we want to have some ways that we can remove ourselves from that number. Okay? So that's where taking care of ourselves comes in. Buzzword self-care. It is literally everywhere. Bringing in self-care, taking care of you, not pouring from an empty cup. All of those things are very, very popular terms, as they should be. I love hearing it. I love seeing it. And I love that people are actually talking about it. So, what are some different ways that you can take care of yourself so that you are not on that road to burnout? Well, one of the things that I talk to my clients about all the time is making sure that your self-care has a purpose. Self-care without a purpose is pointless. We have to make sure that the things that we're doing to take care of ourselves are actually needed. We can't do what our coworker, what our family member, what our friend does just because it's something that works for them. We need to actually do what works for us. So the way that I like to categorize self-care is by using the 4 R's. So this is something that you can keep in mind going forward. Doing different activities for rest, doing different activities for relaxing, doing different activities for recharging, and lastly, resetting. So the 4 R's. Which one do you need? Do you need to rest, relax, recharge, or reset? And this will change depending on the day, depending on the hour, the month, even sometimes the minute. So it can change. So kind of sit back and we're going to go through each one and you can figure out, hey, what are some of my go-to activities so that when I know I'm in a place where I need to recharge, that's one of the things I can do. I need to reset, that's what I need to do. I need to relax or rest, you know what your go-to activities are. So when I talk about resting, I mean you literally ceasing movement, like you're not moving. This could be sitting your butt down on the couch, catching up on your favorite TV show, reading a book, maybe even sleeping. Sleep is so important when it comes to our mental health. It is one of the most important things. And honestly, I can do a whole talk on why sleep is so important. Resting, getting enough sleep, having your body just actually chill out for a moment can be something that you're needing. And this can be if you're constantly going, doing all the things. You may be in need of rest. Now, with relaxing, I want you to be able to relieve some of the mental or physical tension that you're feeling. And that might be like, hey, this is where I need to focus on relaxing. So maybe you need to journal because you need to get some of those things out of your head. Maybe you need to actually talk to a therapist because you have so much going on in your mind that it is just so overwhelmed and your mind cannot relax. Maybe this is where you need to get one of your massagers, and I have a head massage specifically, and use some of that to kind of help give you some of that relaxation. Maybe you need to go soak and sit in a warm bath because your body is just feeling so tense and you need it to loosen up a bit. Maybe you need to do some stretches. There are some activities that I'm going to go on later in the week that will help you reduce tension. One of my favorites is progressive muscle relaxation. So we will be going over that as well. But those are some things that can help you relax. So if you kind of feel your body and you say, whoa, I feel some tension, either physically or mentally, I think the R that I need to focus on is relaxing, and that's okay. Now, recharging, that is anything that fills your cup. So when we hear that term, do something that fills your cup, what we're talking about is recharging. If you are somebody who is a little bit more of an introvert, that could be having some alone time where you are physically by yourself doing whatever it is that you want to do. That might be what recharges you. If you have a particular job where you're by yourself, you're not working around a lot of people, but you are that extroverted person, going out and spending time with friends might be that thing that you physically need. You might need to be in nature. You might need to have some kind of connection. Maybe you paint. Maybe there's an instrument that you're connected with. Those things might recharge you. Exercising. So doing the activities that actually fill your cup, that could be where you're at. And reset. I don't want us to forget about the reset mode because sometimes that is what helps us out most mentally. So different activities when you're needing a reset can be establishing new goals, can be setting boundaries. We will be going over that later on this week, and that is huge and important. Organizing, this could be organizing your space, because sometimes when our space is out of whack and out of control, our mind feels the same kind of way. So it could be some of those things where you're like, I need to do a complete reset. So you might have to sit down, you might need to journal, you might need to work on your to-do list. You might actually need to do some organizing and some organization. This could be a time where you're doing some meditation work, some yoga, so that you can actually center yourself before you begin that reset. You might need to have that conversation with yourself or with someone else to set up some kind of boundary. That could be your reset. So stress in itself, like I said, small spurts of it is not a bad thing. It's that long, prolonged period of experiencing the stress that can be negative and can be harmful for us and cause us to be burned out. But if we start incorporating what I like to call the 4 R's, rest, relax, recharge, and reset, we can have some of our go-tos so that we are self-caring with a purpose. All right? So you may hear this and you might say, you know what, Patience? All of this sounds good. All of this sounds great. You're bringing up stress. Okay, maybe I'll give a little buy-in that a little bit's okay and a lot of it isn't. All right, I'll think about the 4 R's. That sounds all right. I may have already been doing some of those things, or maybe I've gotten away from it, but I might be able to put some of it in. I don't know. You may be following along with that, but I may have some others that are just like, this is good and dandy. I have zero time for self-care. I don't know how I'm going to fit it in. I don't know how it's going to work. I just don't think that self-care is possible for me. So I have something for you too. I want to talk about 6 different ways that we can get the most out of our self-care, how we can maximize our self-care. So first thing I want you to think about is, maybe you're the one that said, hey, yeah, you gave me some examples, but I don't know about that. Think about some of the old things that you used to do. Is there an old hobby? Is there an old activity? Is there something that you were involved with previously that maybe you've gotten away from, that you just kind of put to the side because you got too busy? Life happened and you haven't been able to return to it. Visit your old hobbies. A lot of times when we are feeling stressed, we don't do it on purpose, but we stop doing the things that were helpful and that were beneficial for us. So start doing them again. 9 times out of 10, it will help you. Or if there is something new that you wanted to try that you just kind of kept putting off because you don't have the time, be very, very intentional and actually try to do it. We're here to prioritize our mental health, so we actually have to take some steps to do it. So either go to those old hobbies, activities, or try something new. Next thing, 5 minutes a day. You can self-care for as short as 5 minutes a day, and that can be huge. It can make a great impact on your life and your mental wellness. If you're telling me that you don't have 5 minutes, I don't believe you. I really don't. We all have at least 5 minutes. It's whether or not we're willing to actually take the 5 minutes to take care of ourselves. Something as short as 5 minutes. This could be a devotional. This could be you drawing. This can be you actually sipping a cup of tea solo by yourself with no one else around. This could be you reading. This could be you stretching. This could be you doing some kind of quick yoga practice. These things can all happen within 5 minutes, and there will be a huge difference. All right. Now, other times to get this self-care in, because I've noticed that that is kind of one of the big things. When do I actually do it? Add a self-care activity to your morning routine or your nighttime routine. Sometimes as we're going through the hustle and bustle of the day, it's hard for us to kind of insert our self-care in if it's not already on our schedules. So adding it to your morning routine or your nighttime routine can be really, really helpful. And then it just kind of becomes a part of your everyday practice. So you're getting in some of those old things that you used to like to do or incorporating something new. You're getting in that 5 minutes a day, and it's coming at the start or the end of your day, or maybe even both. All right, so next on our list, so I think we've covered maybe 4 or so now, is for my booked and busy people. If I still have not convinced you that self-care is possible, schedule it. Put it on your calendar. This could be something that you have like patience time. So this could be something that I'm just doing in my house. Patience time, whatever that time is. So like you would schedule a meeting, you would schedule an appointment. For me, like I would have a session, or you have something on your calendar. Schedule your self-care time. Whether this is actually you having like a real life appointment somewhere out in the world, or this is something that you are doing solely for yourself. When we put it on our calendars, that shows that we're taking initiative, we're trying to be consistent, and we're truly committed to our self-care time. And that way, we actually will do it because it's on our calendar. We have not put something else in its spot. So add self-care to your physical calendar so that it is something that you will do. If you need to pull it out right now and look at your calendar, go on ahead and do it and schedule some self-care time. You'll be happy that you did when that day comes up, okay? Alrighty. So also make your self-care an experience. Because we're still kind of dealing with this whole pandemic, you may not be comfortable doing all of the things that you previously did, and that is perfectly fine. So making your self-care an experience can be really, really helpful. So whether this is you, say you like to cook, and you want to turn it into a whole thing where you're just not, you know, just doing your daily cooking. You might pull out your nice dishes, you might pull out a bottle of wine, you might have your music playing. You're turning it into a whole experience. Okay, maybe you need some of that relaxation to come in. And so you're like, you know what, I'm going to take a warm bath tonight. Instead of you just hopping in a hot bath, you might have the bubbles, you might have your fuzzy robe, you might have the music, you might have the candles going, you might again have wine. I'm bringing up wine again. Have your wine that comes into play. You might have a book. All of those things, you may put them into play and to practice to make it an entire experience. So you're elevating your self-care that you're doing for yourself, especially if you're unsure about going out and about into other areas. And lastly, my favorite out of all of them is being mindful. So doing your self-care practices with a sense of mindfulness. So mindfulness, y'all, is being present in the moment with whatever activity you're doing. So you could be mindful at this very moment. So for instance, you could be focusing on my blue top. You could be looking at my earrings. You can be listening to my voice. You can be seeing my hair. You can be very mindful and present in this very moment because you are connecting to all of your senses to actually watching and listening and hearing this information. You can be mindful in all of your self-care activities. And mindfulness is what can take you just sitting on the couch, sipping a cup of tea, or actually, reading that devotional, drawing, being completely tuned into whatever thing that you're doing. It can help take you to a completely different level because you know what? You're not thinking about your grocery list that's coming up. You're not thinking about that work event. You're not thinking about that work assignment. You're not thinking about that deadline that you did not meet and how people are going to respond to that. You are being present in the moment with that activity that you are doing, and you are going forward with that. So you are being completely engaged and completely mindful with what it is that you're doing. It can take anything to a completely different level. Okay? So I'm hoping that by the end of this, you'll kind of think about how you view stress, how you look at it. Is stress innately good? Is stress innately bad? How are you thinking about stress? because that will determine how you move and flow with it going forward. Also, incorporating the 4 R's into your daily life: resting, relaxing, recharging, and resetting, giving your mental and physical body what it needs to actually recover, and so that you are self-caring with a person, with a purpose. It could be with a person. Um, then, on top of that, how can I maximize my self-care? How can I take it to the next level? Look at those old hobbies or trying something new. How can I actually be mindful so that the 5 minutes I'm taking a day, whether that's in the morning or if it's at night, or it's something that I've scheduled, it is something that is at a whole different level. Or if you're having to make it an experience, you're already going and doing that so that it's elevating and taking your self-care to a completely different level. So I'm hoping that you all are able to take some of this and go forward with it. Please don't feel like you are obligated. Whatever serves you, use it, and whatever does not, leave it right here at BIMS Care. So I do have one question that I do want to address that I want to make sure that I answer before we leave today. So one of the questions that I received was, how do we let go of what does not serve us? When I hear this question, I think about a reset. This person might need to actually sit and have a reset. Do you need to set some kind of boundary? Do you need to actually write something out? Do you need to maybe meditate on what is going on and why you think that this no longer serves you? And if it doesn't serve you, are you comfortable with letting it go? Are you comfortable with setting the boundary either with yourself or with that other person so that you can get rid of it, so that it's something that you are no longer dealing with? Okay? And we will be going in on boundaries later on in the week. So I'm going to be walking you through, so giving you all the steps to help you. So I don't want to spoil that for what's coming up in the week. But I appreciate you all coming. I appreciate you all hanging in there with me. And like I said, take what serves you and leave what doesn't. So my name is Patience Riley. Like I said, I'm a licensed mental health therapist and certified professional coach. I'm licensed in Georgia, Florida, and Nebraska, and I do serve coaching clients throughout the U.S. as well as internationally. If you want to connect with me, please visit my website, www.womamas.com, or you can connect with me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook underneath womama_blog, or on LinkedIn at Patience Riley. I would love to connect with you all there, and thank you so much for joining me today on BIMS Care. I'll see you the rest of the week.